Today we're going into the gritty, jaw-dropping world of King Vao, the Chicago rapper who made news not only for his music but also for his crazy, exciting time in jail. King Vao grew up in a dangerous place where there was a lot of crime and famous rappers like Chief Keef and Lil Durk. But it was inside the prison walls that King Von really became famous for being fearless, cruel, and jumping his inmates. Also check out this intense moment right here, and that was just a face. This guy didn't just survive in prison, he dominated. Von vs. Chicago rival. While behind bars, King Von was involved in multiple fights. One of such fights was the most popular instance, which happened in 2017 when Vao attacked 051 Freaky, a fellow inmate. The reason for this battle was a long-running rivalry between their respective gangs. Freaky was affiliated with 051 Young Money, while Vao was a member of OTF, an acronym that stands for Only the Family. A tattoo on Freaky that mocked the name of L.A. Payon, an OTF affiliate who was killed in 2013, was the direct reason for this confrontation. Michael Buchanan, Saki Hardy Johnson, and Michael Mays were three individuals all connected to 051 Young Money who were found guilty of Capone's murder and given lengthy jail sentences. King Von took quick action, indicating that the tattoo offended him. He couldn't tolerate the disrespect. V was able to free himself of his restraints with the assistance of another convict, and then he proceeded to launch a vicious assault on Freaky. The surveillance camera was able to capture this moment in the video. V can be seen punching Freaky multiple times until the security personnel intervened and brought him under control. After that, V was put back in handcuffs. V confidently asserted his unwavering self-assurance and fearlessness after the heated interaction he had with 051 Freaky during the showdown. According to the accounts, he claimed to be proud of the battle and to be fearless in facing his competitors squarely. V's persona is one of aggressiveness. He regularly presented himself as a courageous and strong person in both his songs and real life. In addition, the manner in which he was able to break free from his handcuffs while he was in prison demonstrated his ingenuity and unyielding will to maintain control of his situation even while he was being held. And according to King Vao, it was a slight nothing though brawl with another inmate. Another noteworthy altercation happened in 2016 when Vao and a companion engaged in physical combat with another prisoner. The guards had to step in and use mace to restrain the fighters because the fight was so fierce. V later complained about not getting medical assistance for the consequences of the chemical spray, even though he had been maced, as is customary when an inmate is injured in any way. King Von had to be questioned by a sergeant who happened to be on duty at the time of the fight. King Vao informed the guard that he was hurt when he was maced, but he doesn't know why he was sprayed, suggesting that it was done carelessly and that he wasn't given any medical assistance. King Von stated in this video clip when being questioned by the sergeant, "I got MY. You get M and Y, you in the hallway, Bisha hit the corner, who makes me skip, I don't know, somebody mac me, they just mac me for no reason. Okay, you got any injuries? Yeah, did you receive medical attention? No, I talked to the Cones. Get no." The late rapper King Vao had a checkered past, and another video shows him claiming to be gay in an apparent attempt to get transferred to a different cell. Footage from Von's November 2017 body cam went viral, showing him trying to get protective custody and a transfer to a different section of the prison by telling off officers about his alleged sexual orientation. So, because of your sexual orientation, you're requesting protective custody, is that correct? Yes. Okay, be they trying to let me anyway. Many of King Von's associates and friends spoke out in support of the late rapper, putting an end to speculation about his sexual orientation. No Limit Cairo, a fellow Chicagoan, said that the restrictions of the prison were the true motivation for V's desire to be transferred. Asian Doll, who was once romantically involved with V, appeared to respond to the video by suggesting that his sexual orientation announcement was an elaborate scheme to manipulate the system. When clips about this incident got online, Von's fans praised him for trying to trick the prison officers, even though it didn't work. Toe-to-toe with an inmate while King Von was in prison. There were a number of fights, but one particular fight stands out because of how daring it was and how many jail guards were involved. During one event, Vao and his friend confronted a prisoner who wasn't expecting it right in front of the guards. That is how dangerous jail can be. You always have to be on guard. This fight happened because of personal grudges, and there was an ongoing gang feud. When V saw how carelessly a fallen comrade was being treated, he was greatly offended and felt He had to act right away even though there were several guards around V and his friends went ahead with their strike right away. The guards quickly stepped in to stop the fight, restrain the attackers, and bring back order in the middle of all the chaos. V tried very hard to get away. The video, on the other hand, clearly shows that the guards caught him right away. V refused to stop yelling and fighting hard against his bond even though he was being held down. This part shows us how angry Val can be, and how violent prison life can be, where gang membership and personal grudges often lead to fights between prisoners. Vaughn tries to burn prison. Well known for his audacious behavior, King Vaughn was also once locked up in a high-security prison where some of the nation's most violent offenders are kept in order to stay safe. He had hatched a bold scheme to leave his mark on everyone there. To the ignorance of the security personnel, V planned a risky escape from his incarceration. With the assistance of a few devoted friends, they attempted to set fire to the cell blocks using clothing and improvised burning materials they could find around. They were able to surprise everybody. Well, who could have expected a bold escape from King Val and his crew? At the time, VS Group was moving slowly from block to block, confronting and subduing anyone who got in their way, and the emotion was getting worse. Words of rebellion, and more so the smoke from the fire, got the attention of everyone. However, V had left his imprint by the time the authorities were able to seize back authority and put out the rebellion. In the fire, inmate legend has it that this was one of the most daring attempts ever. However, life for King Varf was a haze of monotony and seclusion within the walls of the prison. In his solitary confinement, he had to seek comfort in something, and the one thing that appeared to offer him relief from the routine of prison life was drugs. V had created a web of contacts that made sure he got as many drugs as possible regardless of the tight laws and constant observation in that prison. It did help that he was popular too, and so he was able to play the cat and mouse game with the jail officials. The drugs weren't just a source of escapism for him, but they also served as fuel for some of his violent outbursts and behavior. Naturally, he had a confrontational personality, but the drugs served as a catalyst to boost his anger and paranoia. Val was known as a wild and unpredictable inmate inside the prison hierarchy due to his antics driven by drugs. Most times his fights with other inmates began from just minor disagreements that would turn violent in the twinkling of an eye. Fueled by the drugs and his own combustible nature, the prison walls turned into a battleground with V at its epic. Into one day during an ordinary check, he got unlucky and was caught in a modified state surrounded by a cloud of smoke and several drugs. Despite the occasional disciplinary measures and attempts at rehabilitation, VS need for relief through the use of drugs continued to drive his behavior behind bars. This is a reminder of the challenges of managing a high-profile inmate with a history of violence and drug abuse. You should know that it is nothing but a ticking time bomb in an already volatile environment. Van goes against the cops. King Vaughn's history with the cops isn't something to smile about. Me, for what I can get you, Asa, this real quick. You took a picture of my ID. Man, VS first big run-in with the law happened when he was only a teenager. As a child growing up in the dangerous Oblak neighborhood, the cops often singled him out because he was involved with local gangs. People had a lot of mistrust and anger toward the cops because they were constantly bothering and watching them. In 2012, he was arrested for having a handgun without a permit. He was 18 years old at the time. His early adulthood would be mostly marked by a pattern of jail time that began with this arrest, and even though the charges were serious, V would soon have even more legal issues. These counts were just the start. Two men were shot and killed in 2014, and V was arrested in connection with the crime. He was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of first-degree murder. Vaughn spent more than 3 years in jail while he waited for his trial. At the time, he claimed that he wasn't guilty and that the charges against him were not true. King Vaughn eventually got out of jail in 2017 when the charges against him were dropped because there wasn't enough proof, and witnesses didn't want to be charged. Couldn't all of these interactions make one deeply suspicious and angry? Surely VS anger toward the police came from both his direct contact with them and what he would have seen around him. Racism, police violence, and corruption were common in his community. His perspective would have been molded by these encounters and thereby developed a strong disdain for authoritative figures, and his reputation as a fierce and unyielding person definitely played into the prison system. He frequently disagreed with the jail administration, and on a fateful day tempers flared during a routine cell inspection. Already Tired of life in the prison and the after effects of those drugs, V took offense at what he saw as an insult from one of the guards. V's anger quickly got out of hand. With a sudden burst of rage, V lunged at the nearest guard, catching him off guard. The attack was swift and brutal, catching both the guard and nearby inmates by surprise. The guard fell back and hit his head on the cellars. As Vaughn hit him in the face with his hands, the guard tried to defend himself, but V's constant attacks were too much for him. When other guards heard the noise, they rushed over to the scene to help. Alarms went out and prisoners began to shout in defiance, sending the jail yard into a frenzy. V kept up the attack until the guards who came to help their colleague were able to physically restrain and control him. The consequences were dire and immediate. V was immediately put in solitary confinement and kept apart from the other inmates and prison staff. He faced serious punishments, which included additional charges and an extension of his stay, all of which threatened to derail any hope of a future beyond the prison walls. The episode was a sobering warning of how dangerous it is to be angry and violent without limits. Van's gangster's life, more so the release of police records that had not been made public before, seems to have ended rumors about who killed the 17-year-old Gakaki Barnes. In 2014, a hooded figure allegedly shot and killed the adolescent who had been a member of the Gang of Disciples in Chicago and was responsible for the murders of over a dozen souls before she met her demise on the streets where she had become famous. Barnes had a terrifying reputation throughout the city. More information about Barnes's case has been released by the Chicago Police Department. This includes the name of the person they think killed him. The documents say that witnesses saw the accused shooter and identified him as the rapper King Von. He was thought to be a member of the Black Disciples. The report says that an unknown M1 approached the victims while wearing blue jeans and a gray hoodie. After that, the unknown killer pulled out a handgun and began shooting at the victims, hitting all three of them. Then the unidentified offender quickly escaped in an unknown vehicle. The papers also have police writing that the victim was killed by Devin Bennett. According to the investigation, you should know King Von's real name by now, right? We mentioned it earlier in the video. Val was later asked about her death, but he was never charged with it. The police then said that even though witnesses said V was the shooter, they did not have enough evidence to hold him responsible for her death. Barnes seemed to have done well in school all her life, but as a child she saw gang violence. She became well known on social media by making fun of her rival following her brother Tyler's death. In 2012, she reportedly turned vicious and pursued retribution for his passing, though her mother later rejected the rumor she had heard about her daughter. Barnes was allegedly involved in over 20 shootings and responsible for several murders, but sadly for her, the 17-year-old gangster's rule had come to an abrupt halt. Von catches and outplaying King Von was also drawn into a savage rivalry that would turn into a physical altercation. An enemy gang member named Malcolm Stuckey met V and his friend Big Mike at a house party on July 24, 2014. Stuckey was a member of the Gangster Disciples, or GDs. The GDs were a notoriously deadly rival gang to the BDSV, was reportedly receiving unpleasant stares from Stuckey and another man. But V was not having it, and after leaving the party with Big Mike, he got a .4. Smith and Wesson went back to the party and shot them. Big Mike told the cops that he and Val got out of the car and rode after them. Big Mike also promised to testify against V. V is said to have shot one man in the face, fracturing his jaw, while Mike is said to have shot the other man in the foot. Not only did Big Mike opt not to testify in court, but other witnesses failed to appear. In the end, Val was found not guilty of any crimes, and Mike received a 28-year term for aggravated battery with a firearm. Although Big Mike didn't testify in court, what he did tell the police raised serious doubts about V, and so he was put out as a snitch in the gang. And as it turned out, Big Mike was related to Wookie, another hip-hop artist from Chicago. Wookie grew up in Old Block, but he finally started hanging out with people who were against it in St. Lawrence Avenue. This group of GDs is made up of the St. Lawrence and E-Block territory groups. The two blocks formed an alliance decades ago to fight Ook and other competitive gangs because they were so close to each other. Only one block separated them. When WI was 12, he was accused of killing a BD from Old Block with a gun. He was then told to leave the area. After leaving Old Block, he moved to St. Lawrence Avenue and quickly became friend with other GD singers like FBG Duck, Lil J, and Lil Jojo Way, and V engaged in a vicious, well-publicized Twitter battle that lasted for years. They kept making fun of the dead gang members and asking each other who would die first. In October 2018 WY decided to have a cigarette outside while at the funeral of his friend Dusadine. As soon as he left the church, a heavy hail of Draco gunfire hit him in the head. After being taken to the hospital quickly and undergoing emergency surgery, he eventually recovered. Even though W is still alive, his rehabilitation from a gunshot wound to the head is still a work in progress. To rub salt in WY's injury, V admitted to doing him dirty on Instagram, Von Murder's rival gang member, according to multiple verified stories. The Chicago rapper is now thought to have killed another person. This brings the total number of people who have allegedly been killed by V to 3. As the sun went down in Chicago, King Val and his group roamed the south side. There was a palpable sense of worry in the city's gang-ridden areas, the kind of anxiety that usually comes before violence. According to reports, Val and his friends were at odds with the local gang known as STL or St. Lawrence, to which Model Mamrie belonged. Furthermore, Model Mamrie had been causing problems for VS team for some weeks. That chilly October even was the tipping moment in their feud. While hanging out in the area, Val and his friend saw Mamrie and his friend relaxing at a nearby convenience store. VS group moved forward to challenge Marie's group. They were armed and ready to fight. The talk was short but very powerful as insults and threats were traded. Things quickly got worse. It was clear that violence had to happen. Chaos broke out when a member of Mac's team pulled out a revolver and fired a warning shot into the air. When Von's team responded, they opened fire on Mamrie with a lot of guns. Mamrie and his group were shocked and quickly ran for safety. But it was too late. Von noticed Mamrie trying to escape down an alleyway. In the midst of the mayhem, Von followed him, a stained determination in his eyes. When Von caught up to Mamrie, the chase was over. Reports say that V fired the shot that killed Mamrie in 2012. Different witnesses have told different stories about who killed Mamrie. Still, the Chicago Police Department thinks King Val killed him, not Troy, who is another suspect. King Val and T-Roy were best friends. For King Von, Model Marie's murder was just another violent chapter in his story, a tariff in warning about what happens when you cross paths with one of Chicago's most known street characters. Von battles Quando Rondo. V decided to try his hand at the music business in 2018 after seeing his friend Lil Durk do well in it. His friends told him to try to change things for the better in his life. His first big hit, Crazy Story, came out on December 6th. 2018, the same day Lil Durk signed him to his OTF line. The song became very popular very quickly thanks to Von's friend Lil Durk's help. At first, it was hard for him to get used to having all the cameras on him, but Durk helped him get better quickly. In the years that followed, V kept putting out music, kept in touch with his friend Lil Durk all the time, and quickly gained more fans. Then Lil Durk and Val were both taken into custody in June 2019 in relation to an Atlanta shooting. The state says that on February 5th, 2019, the two men robbed and shot a man outside of a famous Atlanta drive-in. In addition to other accusations, both men were charged with felon in possession of a firearm and criminal intent to commit murder. Nevertheless, they were both able to post bail. Durk for $300,000 and Val for $250,000, but this didn't do much more than help him become famous, which is what being locked up often does for artists. After that, his career began to hit new heights. He finally was making serious money, quit living on the streets, and was going on tour with Lil Durk. Subsequently, on November 6th, 2020, Von and his group departed from the Opium nightclub and made their way to Atlanta's Monaco Hookah Lounge. V was prohibited from carrying a pistol since he was a criminal, and his case with Lil Durk was still pending. Tragically, V got into a fight with rapper Quando Rondo and his group outside the Hookah Lounge at around 2:50 in the morning. When the two groups got into a fight, shots were fired. Were Quando Rondo and King Val at odds with each other? That's what people on social media think. But it's not for sure. They were in competing circles because King Von was signed with rapper Lil Durk and Quando Rondo was signed with NBA YoungBoy, according to Hit CC. After Quando Rondo and V had their initial altercation, it is said that Quando Rondo's friend L Tim opened fire on Val, hitting him several times. Immediately after, there was mayhem. One of VS buddies shot at Lil Tim and two officers fired shots from separate positions. 6 men were shot during the whole fight. Unfortunately, V and 2 other men died from their injuries. Luckily, camera footage caught the whole thing. And L Tim, who is suspected of killing Von, was arrested for murder after the shooting in 2020. Lil Tim, who is also known as Timothy Leaks, was first blamed for killing rapper King Von, but in August 2023, the murder charges against him were officially dropped before the case even went to court. The missile was verified by his attorney Noah Pines, and it was said that the decision was based on the information that was available at the time. The website RapCurrent said that Tim's Instagram page showed that he is linked to the rapper Quando Rondo. What was said about the Instagram page is no longer there, though, even though a lot of people on social media think there is a link between Quando Rondo and King Von's killing. Atlanta police have not confirmed it. There were reports and claims, mostly from Asian doll King Von's ex-girlfriend, that the police, not leaks, may have been the source of the deadly gunfire that killed King Vo, and this could be what led to the decision to drop the charges. In the music video Left a Stain, which he put out after getting fired, Tim raps about how happy he is that his ankle monitor is off, which is a sign of his newfound freedom. When the charges of King Von's murder were dropped, his friends and family took to social media to express their shock and disappointment. King Von's career ended as quickly as it had begun, leaving his songs and recordings for fans to enjoy. Many console themselves with the fact that he was an extremely great artist despite his past, and like most individuals, deserved a second chance to make a change in his life. His music carries on his legacy. As word of Von's death spread, both his fans and his critics were saddened by the loss of a complex and controversial person, and within the walls of the prison he stayed, and I'm pretty sure that he would be remembered for a very long time. He lived quite a short life, but it was definitely a loud one. For more shocking content like this, click on the card displayed on your screen now. Don't miss out on these intense stories.